Hey toy fans, Aaron here. Today taking a look at the 2002 Saga Collection release of Orn Free Taa as seen in Star Wars Attack of the Clones. This figure comes to us on the Phase 1 card back, so light blue background, golden Star Wars logo and racetrack running around the edges, and then towards the bottom half of the card you got those swooshes in the background. Through the blister you get a good look at the action figure and the included Senate security camera. Bottom of the card, nice image as we saw Orn Free Taa in the movie, and then his name and the movie he's from off to the right. Left side of the card gets you his number in the lineup, which is number 35, and his name and that Collection 2 call out. Right side of the card, his name and number once again, and that includes the Senate hovercam. Here's a look at the back side of the card, where top half is basically information about Attack of the Clones as a movie, what the plot was, and then you got his name and then that 0235 once again, along with a brief write-up about his character. Middle section of the card, you get a look at the action figure that you're getting, or in this case, maybe it was an early prototype, while the deco that you see sculpted within that figure is the same, definitely painted differently. Black robes and some gold edges painted on that cloth. You know, I don't know the backstory, so I can't really speak to any of that. And then along the bottom of the card are 3 other action figures that were available in the line at this time. And now taking a look at them out of the packaging. Overall, very nice looking figure. You've got a lot of detail being done in the sculpting of it. A fairly decent paint job, but with the bulk of the character, with the hard plastic being used for much of that outer robe, and the fact that he's got long robes all around. As you see later, there's not much room for movement of what little articulation he has. And honestly, I'm quite alright with that. This figure is basically what I want it to be. It's just someone that stands there, stands next to Palpatine on the shelf. We didn't see him do anything in the movie anyways. I don't even think he spoke at all. Going in for a look at the head sculpting, to me it seems very representative of how he looked in the movie, even down to the shading of the blue. It seems like it's a pretty close match to the shade of blue that we saw him in the film. You've got some soft highlights of white mixed in with that paint job. The texturing of the skin going down the head tails looks very nice, and the same goes for the 2 head tails running down the backside of his head. Face sculpting there also looks nice. Decent wrinkles sculpted in through the forehead, around the mouth, down the chin, and not too shabby of a paint job for the eyes and the mouth. As you see on the eyes, you got a mix of pink, a little bit of white, and a black dot in there for the pupil. And then through the mouth, you got a few white teeth showing and some pink for the lips. So to me, this area definitely looking good. As you get to the rest of the costume, starting with that outer robe, you can't see much of it, but you get a pretty nice detail for the collar and these 2 thinner strips of brown plastic that run just off the edges of his chest all the way down to the bottom of the action figure, and that is connected to the rest of that outer robe that you see running over his arms on the side and all throughout the back. We already saw a different color painted on the action figure that was photoed on the back of the card. And in the movie, I feel like this costume, at least through this area, might have been more bronze in color. Didn't see that much of them, or at least, I only looked in the first few minutes, actually. But yeah, that brown color is placed very well, staying right where it needs to be. And then all throughout the back, it looks like it's got multiple layers of fabric being sculpted on. Lots of layers and folds, definitely showing the draping of this, what would otherwise be fabric. And then you get to the inner part of his robes, these silver-colored robes. Lot of ornate detailing all throughout, running top to bottom. The pattern that you see on the center of his chest that runs down is mimicked on his arms. So great detailing there. And then just a little bit of that light tan color sticking through the sleeves just before you run into his blue hands. And those hands match up pretty well to the coloring used for the head. And then down along the action figure, the last bits of inside robes that you see is this tan fabric. Got a little bit of a, would you call that checkerboard pattern? Maybe sculpted in there. So still some very nice detailing coming through. Overall, I think this figure makes for a very nice presentation. Stands up well on his own, but much like I showed with the Senator Palpatine review just a couple videos ago, even this figure has some separately sculpted feet. Nice blue color, you can make out some toes. I mean, they really serve no purpose since the figure stands well on its own, just using the robes as a base. As far as articulation, the head doesn't swivel much. You get a little bit of shoulder movement up and down, and then some side-to-side swiveling at the elbows, but you do get a full rotation at both wrists. And if you really wanted to, you could even swivel those feet just a little bit. And for accessories, he does come with the Senate hover cam. I like this. I think this is a great addition to get out there into the population of action figures from the movie. And it's probably a good inclusion to have along with a character such as this, where maybe a lot of people aren't going to run out and grab them, so it's a nice little toss in. Sculpting to it looks pretty good. You know, honestly, I didn't stare this one down in the movie before I started talking about this, so I can't say if it's 100% accurate, but it does fit what I seem to recall of it. I like the antenna sculpted on top. Little touch of red as it gets into that gray color. Decent painting for the gray stripe running around the edges. Along the bottom, you got a touch of blue and green paint. Not entirely staying where it needs to be, but I'm cool with it. And then it just pegs on top of this plastic base, so it is removable if you didn't want it on the base for whatever reason. Otherwise, though, it does stay on there just fine. So as I've said a few times in the review, I really like the way this action figure looks. I think Hasbro really did a great job with the sculpt, bringing the character to life from film into action figure form. And as I said, while the articulation is certainly limited due to the way the figure is made, for me, in my mind, it's a good sacrifice. I don't need all of my action figures to be super articulated, and for me, this figure definitely doesn't need that. I'd be shocked if we ever saw this character made again, so if this is one you don't have in your collection, I'd highly recommend doing a search and picking this guy up. So that's going to wrap this one up. I'd love to know what your thoughts are on this figure in the comment section below. And as always, thanks for watching.